Hey guys, so my name's Ethan, and in this story, I'm going to be telling you why I ended up dropping out of Brown. So, a little bit of context. I was supposed to be Brown class of 2022, and then this past May, I decided to leave Brown. So, the story is a little bit complicated. It kind of involves jumping into the past, the future, so kind of hang in there with me. Um, Kind of just want to take you guys through my whole thought process and kind of reflecting on it afterwards. So, with that being said, why don't we just jump on in? So, the story really begins in 2017 or 2016, so in high school. So, in high school, I was obsessed with grades. I think, like a lot of other high school students, you know, I didn't have that many friends. I went to like an uber competitive school. I think like most schools these days, but like it literally looked over New York City, so it was on top of a hill. I grew up in New Jersey, so it overlooked a hill, and you could see the New York City skyline. So like the New York City hustle and competition was ingrained within us. So yeah. So with that being said, of course, grades were everything for me. I was upset. I needed to be the top of my class. I needed to have all A's. Like that was it for me. So that was kind of my existence. Like I didn't go to parties, I didn't really have that many friends. Everything was about my grades. And so kind of related to that was since grades and academic success was a measure of my self-worth, I kind of thought that going to a good school would be related to that. So of course I always wanted to go to a good school, and specifically Brown, I kind of always knew I wanted to go to, oddly enough. So as a kid, I think the second I knew that Emma Watson was going to Brown, who was like my hero, I knew that somehow I just thought like, okay, I have to go to this school. And I think I also love that idea of independence. So like when I was like 10, I went to sleepaway camp. I just chose a sleepaway camp where you could choose your own path. So that idea of being independent was always really attractive to me. So I think like I always kind of knew I wanted to go to Brown even when I was younger. And then once I actually started like thinking about the college process in high school, it started to make a lot more sense. And then actually my freshman year in high school, my friends and I were playing with the Ouija board, and I asked where am I going to go to college? Like any grade obsessed high school student would want to know. And the Ouija board told me I was going to Brown. So it was destiny, basically, was what I'm trying to say. But so, fast forward to September 2017, my senior year, and of course I apply early decision. And then December 14th, 2017, I remember the day like yesterday at 7 p.m., decision day. Um, the Ivy Brown was releasing its decisions, and I'm anxiously awaiting the portal, and I open it up and I see the confetti, and I get in, and to this day, like there's not been an experience of like of elation of being proud of myself of in that moment. Like uh for real, like not a lot of other moments have come close to that of just of happiness, of pure happiness. I didn't think it was real. But it's okay. So then that's senior year, and kind of the rest of senior year passes, and I'm super excited about going to Brown. I am like, I'm gun ho. I'm like, whoop, let's do it. So then September 2018, my freshman year, I so like I said, I grew up in New Jersey, so I go from New Jersey to Rhode Island, Providence, PVD, and I move in, and I love it. You know, like I said, coming from high school where I didn't have that many friends, I was so great, obsessed, to now this like free to be completely, to be kind of let loose was crazy for me. And all of a sudden, I was going to parties. I was meeting people from all over the world. I was in classes that I actually wanted to be in. It was crazy. And I think when I look back on it, it was kind of like living in a bubble. I was like bopping around, um, just kind of living my life. And so freshman year was amazing. I met so many amazing people. Shout out to like Madison, Rose, Zoe. I love you guys. So many more amazing people. And I think that was kind of the biggest thing that happened to me when that was the biggest change I think from high school to college, was just finding my people, and that was so empowering and rewarding for me. So that was freshman year, amazing. Like I said, meeting people, figuring out like who I am, my classes. So then sophomore year was even better because at that point I decided that I wanted to study comparative, my major. So I decided I was going to be comparative literature. And then I also, at this point, like, I kind of had sussed out who my real friends were. Like, obviously, like, like you're trying to be friendly to everyone freshman year, but like obviously not, you're not going to mesh with everyone. So by sophomore year though, like, who your ride or dies are. So yeah, so that was kind of sophomore year. And then of course, to be fair, like, this is definitely me describing my experience at Brown is definitely with a nostalgic lens. Like, not everything was all perfect. Like, in the beginning of the second semester freshman year, I was even considering transferring. Like, like I said, I kind of struggled to find my people right away in the beginning. Like, it takes time to find friends, and I think I wasn't used to that, so it was just hard. But anyways, by sophomore year, especially March 2020, I was in my element. My birthday's in the beginning of March. Like, my birthday's March 3rd. So my friends had just thrown me a surprise party, which no one had ever done before. Like I said, I didn't have that many friends in high school, or certainly not like close friends. So it's like, for them to throw me a surprise party was like, I felt like amazing. So I'm in my element, I'm feeling good. I got my major declared. I'm like, woo, like, friends good. And then you guys know what's coming. Ms. Rona. So she shows up. I mean, we don't really need to rehash, I think, what happens. I think everyone in some way or another experienced that. We got sent home, which was devastating, to put it mildly. And then, of course, we're on Zoom U, so all online classes. And that was really hard. And of course, I think it was hard for a lot of students too. I'm not just saying it was me. All the joy that I previously got from my classes was kind of just gone. So much of Brown was like feeding off other people's passions, that in the classroom dynamic, seeing people on the main green, like waving, getting coffee with people. And I think that's a lot of college experiences, but certainly to Brown, like Brown, it's the people that make Brown what it is. Like, their passion, their just their go-get-it attitude. And you couldn't really get that on Zoom. So that was kind of March to May, wasn't really feeling the Zoom. So at this point, another thing that's worth mentioning is my study abroad plans. So as much as I love Brown, I had always planned to study abroad my junior year. Initially, I was thinking I was just going to do one semester. I was going to do like second semester because what everyone at Brown does. And I was thinking I was going to do Paris because like I studied comparative literature and French and English. So it kind of made sense. But then the summer after my freshman year, I did like this internship program through Brown in Tel Aviv, which was amazing. Tel Aviv was such a cool city. I could talk about that trip another time and all of my adventures. But kind of being there and having that like international experience made me realize how much I loved it. And I think anyone who's traveled can certainly attest to that. And made me realize I wanted more than just a semester. So I decided I was going to do a full year abroad. I was going to do a fall semester and spring semester. So I did some research, and then I decided that I would do Copenhagen in the fall and Paris in the spring. That was my gig. Like, just as excited I was about going to Brown, I was just as excited to study abroad. Like, that was my thing. If anyone who really knew me knew that I was the guy who was going to do a year abroad. And that was kind of rare. Most people at Brown don't do it. Or most people in college in general don't do a year. And certainly not at Brown. A lot of kids actually don't even study abroad because they love it so much. But okay, so now keep that in the back of your mind, right? Like, I'm the study abroad guy. So it's May, now it's final seasons. I've been chugging along with Zoom University, and I'm not feeling it, but I don't think anyone was really feeling Zoom U. So it's exam season, and it was May 12th specifically, my last exam. I remember the day like it was yesterday. And I had my last exam was for my English class on Jane Austen. And if anyone has taken AP Lit, it was like a very similar format. The exam was grueling. It was 3 hours, like 3 different essays, short answers. It was exhausting. And the class was amazing, but like the exam was not it. So anyways, I'm writing, I'm like manically trying to get my words out, and then I finish. And okay, anyone who's taken an exam before, you know that finishing an exam is one of the best feelings in the world. Even on online courses, just finishing an exam like that, you just feel so accomplished. Like it's a sense of like, like relief. Like, yeah, I just did that. So, and even being on Zoom, taking my classes on Zoom, like that couldn't take away like the sense of accomplishment that I felt. So I'm thinking about it. So picture, I just took my last exam. I'm highest of highs, feeling so good. I'm like, whoa, like just finished my last exam, sophomore year, cha-ching, check, we're done. I'm feeling good. So I'm sure if anyone's taking exams like online, that it's like a proctored window. So you can't see, like it's just like you have access to your exam and that's it. Like no internet, no outside sources. So that's that. So for 3 hours, I was just on the exam. So I submit it, I'm feeling good. And then I get my phone out. I'm like, let me see, like, catch up on texts, social media. What's the tea? What's going on? So I pull out my phone and, 30 seconds in, I'm bopping along, reading my messages. And then literally 30 seconds later, I get an email. And guess what's from? The Office of International Programs. And the email says, Dear Ethan, we regret to inform you that study abroad for fall 2021 has been canceled. So, okay. So just imagine that. From the highest of highs, I'm feeling amazing, to now, study abroad's canceled. Now, when I tell you, like, it was a crash, like, it was not a good situation. Like, putting it mildly. So I took in my exam in, like, the dining, in, like, my home's dining room, and my mom was in the living room. And I did not want to have a full meltdown in front of her. So I'm like, get it together, Ethan. Like, get it together. Come on. I have my phone, and, I just got the email, and I walk across the living room in front of her to the bathroom. I lock the door. I take a deep breath, and I pull out my phone, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I get it together, Ethan. It's time to make a game plan. I get my phone out, and I write an email to my advisor. Dear Professor, I'm writing to inform you that I'm unenrolling from Brown for the next semester. And so that's kind of how I decided to do it. It was a spur of the moment decision, or, I thought it was a spur of the moment decision. I was just like, I was so upset. I was so angry. I was so distraught, and everything just kind of come crashing down. I was like, no, I'm not going back to Brown. I'm not doing another semester of Zoom. I can't. So that was May 12th. I sent an email to my advisor saying, I am taking a leave of absence. I'm dropping out. Please, like, I can't do this anymore. I was so upset. And then 2 days later, I had a meeting with the dean on May 14th to finalize it, and then it was set. So May 14th, I'm officially done with Brown. I've officially dropped out. So now, okay, I know that kind of seems sudden, but now we're kind of going to unpack it and kind of go into more of why I think I made that what seemed rash decision, but really was coming in the long run. So in that moment, so after that, I'm like, okay, like I need to regroup. I need to make a plan, I had the whole year in front of me that was blank. So I needed to figure out what I was going to do. So in addition to that, I think my most immediate concern was figuring out the summer. Because, any college student, I think even high school students now, like internships, I don't even know why, but you should be having fun over the summer, but whatever. So that's another rant. But internships are the thing you need to do, or people say you need to do. So I was like, okay, like let me figure out something to do. So I'd been applying throughout the year and nothing had really worked out or panned out. And I think a lot of things got canceled anyways with COVID. But one thing that did was perspective was in February 2020, before COVID, I'd had this conversation with my family's real estate broker. So a little bit of context was that, so I grew up in New Jersey, but that year, from 2019 to 2020, my family was moving to New York City. And I had always been interested in real estate. Like growing up, I'd watched HGTV. I had like a Lego village. I, actually worked at an interior design firm for 2 years in high school. So it was always kind of something I was interested in. So then when my family decided they were going to move, I kind of took it upon myself to be their honorary broker. Like I was looking at all these new developments, like looking at floor plans and kind of just like fantasizing about these different apartments. So then fast forward to February, and they, much to my dismay, work with a real broker. But then they connect me with him. And they're like, Ethan, like maybe you want to talk to him. So I connect with him, and he's a really cool guy. He was only like 10 years older than me. So I really appreciated that. I think oftentimes when I think a lot of career career labs, or certainly at Brown, they're always like network. And I agree, you should network, but oftentimes I feel like it's kind of hard when you're networking with someone who's like 50 or 60. Like, obviously their advice is amazing, but like it's not really relatable, or they don't really understand what you're going through. So to talk to someone who was only like 10 years older than me in the real estate industry was really refreshing. So whatever, we talked in February, and he was like, yeah, the company that I work at, Compass, they have an internship program. I could pass your resume around, just send it over, and we could see what happens. So that was February, and then kind of COVID happened. So obviously that kind of took the back burner, and then, I didn't really hear from him. So then fast forward now to May, May 14th, I'm like making a game plan. I just dropped out. I'm like, what am I going to do? I decided, why don't I reach back out? Why don't I follow up with him? And let me see, maybe there's something I could do, maybe the program is still going on. So I reached back out, and we have a call, and the program got canceled, but he told me that I could just work for him. I could do stuff for him and his team. So at this point I was really excited. I was like, wow, like this sounds incredible. So for the first 2 months, I was kind of mostly doing like marketing things, supporting the team, kind of office work. So kind of like behind the scenes aspects, learning all of like the fine details. And that I loved. I think, or at least for me, I thought real estate was I didn't think it was that challenging, to be honest. Like I thought it was kind of like, oh, like you just sell houses. Like how hard can that be? But there really is so much that goes into it. And like, again, I could explain that in another video, like how I became, like what exactly is the life of a real estate agent. But anyways, I was doing the behind the scenes stuff and I loved it. But what I really wanted to do was talk to the clients, because I'm an outgoing person. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. That to me just sounded so fascinating. But unfortunately, to do that, you need a real estate license. Like it's legally, you need to have a license in order to do that. So my mentor, my boss, he suggested, you know what, Ethan, why don't you just get a license then? Like, why not? Why not go for it? So I start the process of getting my license, and I get it. I passed the exam, and then I became a real estate agent, and I was working at Compass. And again, I can explain that all in another video. Just kind of want to give you the general overview of what happened after I left Brown. So, okay. So now looking back all at it, I know what might have seemed like a sporadic decision. I think looking back on it really was a long time coming. Like, even why I started in high school, like I always had such a plan, get straight A's, go to a good school, be at the top of my class at the good school. Like everything was always so planned out for me. I didn't really give myself much slack. I was always very hard on myself. And it's exhausting. If anyone else out there is like that, if you're hard on yourself, like it's exhausting. It's so hard, like you don't, and even now I'm still very hard on myself, but it was just to constantly having to live up to that, it was hard. So then when everything came crashing down in that moment after I took my exam, when like my study abroad plans came, they were just canceled, I think it was kind of like a wake-up call for me. I couldn't take it anymore. It was time for me to kind of just breathe. And in that moment, I don't think I didn't have a plan. Like I didn't know I was going to do real estate. I was just like, okay, I can't do this. I'm suffocating. It was too much for me. My own expectations, my own pressure to succeed. I mean, succeed on what? Like, it's a societal definition of success. But that was just so oppressive that I think that's kind of what made me decide to leave. And I think it's funny too, because that independence, like obviously I've always been an independent person, but I think a lot of that also came from Brown, like with the open curriculum, you're choosing your own classes, you're choosing your own path essentially. And I think, so Brown really imbued within me an independence and a commitment to follow my own passions. So, I mean, kind of funny enough, it's with that same independence that Brown instilled within me that I chose to leave Brown. So yeah, that's kind of my story. So if anyone out there, you're watching this and you're considering taking some time off from school, or, even just taking a risk or going off the conventional path, being yourself, because I mean, trust me, I know it can be hard to be yourself sometimes. Just know that you have my blessing. Like, I think it's really hard too. It can be scary. And I mean, I was very privileged. I am very privileged that I could take time off from school and I was able to take that risk. But I mean, just if you can, go for it, because life is really what you make of it. So why not just go for it? Why not say you did it and tried? And even if you fail, then that's that. And I think that's, yeah. And just know that I'll be here rooting for you. If you decide to take risks or to go off the path, like write down your comment your stories. I want to hear it. Um, you got this. It's okay. So thanks guys so much for listening to my story. I hope you guys liked it and it helped you in some way or another. I know I kind of touched upon a lot of subjects and it was kind of a crazy chronology, so hopefully you stayed with me. Let me know in the comments if you'd want to hear about more things specifically. I was kind of planning on doing videos on like my life as a real estate agent, how I became one. I could do more videos on my time at Brown. So just let me know what you guys be interested in hearing. Thanks so much and see you always. Bye.